Hello and welcome to the Run Testers. My name's Nick and this is our full review of the Puma Deviate Nitro 3. So the Deviate Nitro is the plated training shoe within the Puma range, sitting below the Deviate Nitro Elite, which is a carbon plate racing shoe. It costs £150 in the UK, $170 in the US, weighs in at 287 grams or 10.1 ounces in a UK 9, has a 10mm drop and a stack height of 39mm at the heel, 29mm at the forefoot. Compared to the previous version of the shoe, it's got a little bit heavier, the drop's a little bit higher and the stack is a little bit higher at the heel. It's also a little bit more expensive, so little increases across the board of the shoe, but overall the stats are still pretty similar between the two shoes. It's still a dual density midsole as well, and you've got a top layer of Puma's Nitro Elite foam that is the PIBA version. So when you're looking at the latest carbon shoes, the Fast R2 and the Deviate Nitro Elite 3, they're using aliphatic TPU version of Nitro Elite, but in the Deviate Nitro 3 it is still a PIBA version. And then the bottom foam is the standard Nitro foam, which is a nitrogen infused TPEE material. You've got a carbon infused power plate running through the shoe that is forked rather than the full plate you have on the racing shoes. Got an engineered mesh upper, got an internal heel counter, and then this kind of soft plastic fin you have on the back of the shoe as well as an external heel counter, a little bit of padding at the back but not too much, and then you've got a Puma grip outsole with good coverage on the forefoot, 2 strips of rubber at the back. Still a fair bit of exposed foam here, but you're going to get really good grip and durability in all the key impact areas.
So the fit for me in the Deviate Nitro 3, I'm a size 8 in the UK. I did find this to be quite a roomy shoe. There's a lot of extra space in the forefoot and around the side of the shoe. I didn't have any problems on the run. I found it to be quite comfortable. I didn't have any issues at all. I know the other guys mentioned that they had some fit issues, but for me it was absolutely fine. But I'd definitely say that there's more space in the front of this shoe than I'd normally expect. So you probably want to size down half a size in this shoe.
So in terms of fit, I've had my Puma Deviate Nitro 3 in a UK size 8, and that is my typical running shoe size, and that is a shoe size that's worked very well for me in other Puma shoes. So I've had the Puma Deviate Nitro Elite 3 in at the same time. It's been fine in terms of that fit. I think things like Puma Velocity Nitro 3, that fits very well for me as well too. Now this shoe, it hasn't been as straightforward, and I spoke about some of those issues in my kind of initial first run thoughts, and it was mainly around some key areas. I think I had some issues of discomfort at the arch, and also where this line here on the upper, the kind of also a little bit more protection, it was kind of pressing into the sides of my feet. Now I think on that issue, I think changing the kind of thickness of socks, I've gone for thinner socks. It hasn't been as problematic on that front. The issues underneath the arch, that has been less of an issue as well. I think maybe just it felt a little bit stiff, the shoe initially, and I think that's kind of, been less kind of an issue for me. It's kind of, been a bit more forgiving, a little bit less firmer feeling in general, and that's probably helped there. The main issue for me has been here at the back of this plastic external heel counter, which I found on Hour Plus runs, it's just kind of been prodding at the back of my Achilles, and it's something that doesn't feel massively comfortable, and I felt like if I was running longer in there and that was constantly doing that, that would be an issue for me. So that has been a problem for me ultimately, which is a shame because I think elsewhere it's been absolutely fine. Space up front of the toes, the kind of space you'd want to see there. The midfoot hold has been very good. The lacing and the kind of tongue combo is very good as well, very similar to what you get on the Deviate Nitro Elite 3. And then there's a good amount of padding there as well that you'd want for kind of this kind of daily trainer style shoe. So yeah, definitely some problematic kind of experiences for me in terms of the fit. I do think going true to size will work for most people, and I think if you don't replicate the issues I've had, then that should be fine. But yeah, I've definitely had some issues with the fit in my time with the Deviate Nitro 3.
When it comes to the fit for me, I found the Deviate Nitro 3 to be a good length in my normal running shoe size. Got a UK 9 here, which is a US 10. That's the size I've been using in general with Puma since their kind of big road running shoe relaunch. With the carbon shoes, the racing shoes like the Nitro Elite, I find that I'd probably be better off going a half size down. But with the standard Nitro, my normal size was all good for length. I've had a fair bit of trouble with my Achilles being irritated by the heel design of the shoe, and I've actually taken off this fin on one of the shoes, and it's not really helped that much. It's it's not too bad on the run, but it just seems to flare up a little bit more after using the shoe compared to others. Can't really pinpoint why, because it's actually still quite a flexible back of the shoe there, but something about it just doesn't quite work for me. So that's maybe something to keep in mind if you also have that kind of Achilles irritation sometimes, but overall I'd say stick to your normal size for the fit.
I never got a chance to test the previous versions of the Deviate Nitro, and I heard really good things about those shoes, so I really wanted to try this shoe out and see how it felt. I've recently been testing the Puma Deviate Nitro Elite 3, which is an absolutely fantastic shoe. I've really been enjoying testing that one out. So I would hope that I would also enjoy testing this one out as much. What I would say is that it surprised me when I tested it, that based on what I'd heard from the previous versions, that it just didn't feel as good as I thought it would do for that sort of versatile training. It's a shoe designed for faster training sessions. It's designed for versatility, a bit like the Saucony Endorphin Speed 4, things like that. But when you're actually running in it, it doesn't feel like it's really designed particularly well for running faster sessions in. I've been running mainly at my comfortable pace, which is about 4 50-minute kilometers at the moment, but I have picked the pace up a few times in the shoe. And what it felt with the shoe is that it felt absolutely fine at the daily pace that I was doing. But when I picked up the pace, I didn't feel like it was really giving me a lot to sort of help me in those faster sessions. It felt fine. It felt like you could do it, but it felt like a daily shoe that I was pushing a little bit too far to go and to run faster. I would have expected it to feel a little bit more poppier, a little bit more energy return in it, but I don't think it's quite got that. It feels a little bit firmer to me than some of the shoes that I would prefer to use for that sort of faster training and versatile efforts. But having said that, as a daily shoe, I think it was very comfortable. I had no issues with it at all. All the runs that I've done in it, I thought it was absolutely fine. I just didn't feel like it was a shoe that was really designed for versatility, especially when there's so many good shoes out at the moment which are really focusing on this faster training and versatility. I think it just felt a little bit too much like your standard daily trainer as opposed to a shoe that really is designed for performance. The other thing I'd say about it as well is fantastic outsole. It's always a great outsole on Puma shoes. This Puma grip is absolutely fantastic. I've been running on gravelly footpaths around where I live, and absolutely fine. It's probably one of the best outsoles out there if you are looking to do a little bit of trails, but you want to use a road shoe and you don't want to use a specific trail shoe for it. But absolutely fine. Grip was brilliant on this shoe. Other than that, it also felt relatively stable for me. I think that's because it's got this slightly firmer feeling midsole. But as I said, just doesn't feel like it's a shoe that really pushes the boundaries of that sort of daily speed work. It just feels like your standard sort of daily shoe to me.
So in terms of my running experience with the Puma Deviate Nitro 3, I would say it definitely has been a little bit on the mixed side. I think mainly due to those issues I've had with the fit and this plastic sternal heel counter here causing problems for me, particularly on longer runs. It's a bit of a shame because this has landed with the Puma Deviate Nitro Elite 3, a shoe that I've really enjoyed running in, raced in, and I felt like the idea of having a shoe that's kind of has similar traits to that shoe, but bring it down to something that's going to be a bit more comfortable to use as a daily training shoe, probably a bit more durable as well, and take some pressure off using maybe your race shoe if you have a rotation. If not, being a kind of cushioned, speedy daily trainer shoe, a bit like something like the Hoka Max 6, the Saucony Endorphin Speed. I haven't used the latest one, but definitely I think sits in that bracket of shoe as well. I think ultimately it hasn't quite nailed it for me, and I don't know if that is the combination of the midsoles. I think obviously my initial runs, it felt a little bit on the firm side for me. I had some kind of initial issues. Those issues definitely did kind of disappear a little bit for me, particularly in terms of the midsole. I think when you are running faster, when I've run faster, more up tempo in the shoe, it has felt more comfortable to do that. I think it's quite a nice, enjoyable kind of ride in there. I think it's felt a little bit more awkward to transition from those kind of faster runs to slower paces, and I don't feel like it felt as good at those kind of my slower, easier pace. I felt like it is a shoe that promotes you to running a little bit faster. But I think ultimately, unlike something like maybe the New Balance Rebel V4, which has a kind of faster edge to it as well too, this is a little bit heavier than that shoe, and I feel like when I've wanted to go all out, that's maybe held it back. It's not an overly heavy shoe to run in, but I think when you look at lighter shoes are out there to do that, I think maybe it could benefit from losing a little bit of weight to kind of give it that more faster feel. I think also in terms of that kind of protection, I think it's been pretty good over longer runs, but ultimately, that issue I've had at the back of the shoe has prevented me from wanting to run longer in. It's a shame because I think there's a lot of things I do like. I think you've got a nice kind of, great quality outsole on there, Puma Grip outsole that's been very good for me. I've been mainly running in dry kind of roads and pavements, a little bit of lighter trail work. It's been absolutely fine to do that. And, all the kind of good qualities from a Puma outsole that you'd want to see. But ultimately, I think in terms of And maybe that midsole feels like it falls in between two stools. It's not quite one thing, not quite the other, and ultimately feels a little bit mixed in terms of the experience that I've got from it overall. I think, yeah, for me, I think, I thought this was going to be the complete package for me in terms of a kind of speedy daily trainer shoe. It hasn't quite worked out for me in that way, mainly because of those issues with the fit. Mainly, I think that the ride isn't fantastically, kind of memorable. I think there is some bounce, but I don't think it's overly aggressive in terms of that feel. And I think when you are running quicker, I think I just wanted a little bit more from it. And those faster runs and the easier runs, it just felt a little bit awkward to do that. So yeah, definitely a mixed experience for me with the Puma Deviate Nitro 3.
So I've done about 55 kilometers in the shoe now. I'd say the ride has improved a little bit in that time, in that it's become a little bit less stiff. I think it's quite a stiff shoe out of the box. You can really feel the plate, but it does break in a little bit. The two layers of foam and the plate all start to kind of merge together a bit more to work a little bit better. But overall, I'd say it's still a fairly firm and stiff shoe for this category. There are much softer and bouncier options if you're looking at these kind of plated trainers like the Mizuno Neo Vista or something like that. This feels more geared to be a bit stiffer and firmer with the aim of, I guess, providing a bit more speed. During our first run video, I'd already done, I think, 3 or 4 runs, and I wasn't an absolutely huge fan of the shoe, and I'd say I'm probably still there with it. Like, I do think this is a pretty good shoe that can do a wide range of things, but doesn't really work as well as some of the best all-rounders on the market, and I think it has kind of flaws, whatever kind of run you're doing in it, that do come to the fore a little bit. So although it can do most kinds of run, I've done a big range of training in it, some speed stuff, some easy stuff, some longer runs. It just feels like on all those runs, it has something that is a little bit of a drawback with the shoe. So it comes to like faster training, like it is fast enough for your kind of training runs that have a bit of speed, like I did a mini session in it today. I've done an easy to steady progression run, but it's a bit heavy and big for me to really enjoy as a speed shoe compared to, even lighter shoes that don't have a plate, things like the Rebel or the Hoka Mac. It is a nice cushion shoe that you can use for general training and long runs and easy runs, but I haven't actually found it that comfortable at times, especially under the heel. I wonder if the plate must sit quite high in the foam, and as a heel striker I'm hitting that quite directly. But yeah, overall I haven't really found it a very comfortable shoe, just for relaxing and doing daily training in. That might be different for other people though, but yeah, I think it's a bit stiff and firm and doesn't really have a relaxing ride for easy runs in the same way something like the Neo Vista does, or even other plated shoes or non-plated shoes, obviously. As I mentioned, the fit, it does seem to aggravate my Achilles a bit, but it also just seems to leave my calves a bit achy and stuff like that, which is surprising because it's a high drop shoe. Have got on with this Deviate Nitro line before in the past. Just after all the runs I've done in the shoe, I have felt something in my legs afterwards that I wouldn't really get from other shoes, and just seems a bit odd and out of place. So I say it is a pretty versatile shoe, but if you're looking at the faster end of things, I definitely think there are kind of super trainers in this category that have a more responsive ride, a faster ride, that transition a bit more snappily, or have more of a rocker. Dolphin Speed 4, very good rocker shoe, for example, or a slightly snappier ride from something like the Adidas Boston 12, and I think they perform at a higher level for those faster runs. I think you have got more cushion here, but it doesn't necessarily feel like a more comfortable shoe to me anyway. So I think if you're looking at those really great all-rounders out there, I think the shoe is just suffering a bit in comparison. It does provide a step up on your kind of standard daily trainers, your other cushion shoes, like things like the Nike Pegasus I was using at the same time as this. You are getting a stiffer, faster ride from the Puma, but if I was looking to build out a rotation, I'd look at something like the Pegasus or the Glycerin as a more comfortable shoe for picking up daily miles. Grip remains very good, as you expect from Puma. I've done some wet runs in the shoe, and today I was doing some kind of faster reps with sharp turns in them, and yeah, you've got very reliable grip underfoot, no doubt about that. Overall, I'd say it hasn't really clicked for me during my run test. Like, it is an all-rounder, it is a versatile shoe, but it's one that, yeah, I haven't really enjoyed at easy paces. I think it has some drawbacks of faster ones as well. When it comes to the verdict, I think the Puma Deviate Nitro 3 is a pretty good shoe, but it's one that hasn't really clicked for me. I think it's quite versatile, but I think falls short on those multiple fronts for me, and I think there are certainly better options out there. The fact that I haven't found it very comfortable and have had those kind of Achilles issues hasn't helped, obviously, but I even think looking at just pure performance, you are going to find better shoes out there. And actually, I'd probably still prefer the Puma Deviate Nitro 2. You might be able to find that in a sale. I think that had maybe just a slightly smoother ride, didn't have those comfort issues. It felt a bit more impressive for faster running as well. Obviously, it's in an area where you find some of the best shoes in the market as well, and that doesn't help its case. Like Dolphin Speed 4, we've talked about it all the time, just a fantastic all-rounder, rocket shoe, very fast, lightweight, feels more nimble than this shoe, but I actually found it more comfortable than the Puma as well. Mizuno Neo Vista is a very fun, soft and springy shoe that is a really comfortable shoe for daily training, that has a bit of an upper edge for speed work as well. Both of those shoes are lighter than this shoe as well, which again doesn't really help the Puma's case for me. Also, if you want to splash out and go big, there is the Super Blast 2, which is obviously an unplated shoe, but an exceptional all-rounder as well. And then actually, I think you can look at the plate-free shoes that are a lot cheaper, and I think I would use that as this kind of speed-leaning daily trainer ahead of the Deviate Nitro 3. Things like the Hoka Max 6, the New Balance Rebel V4, even kind of the Asics Nova Blast 4, which doesn't really have maybe as much pop for fast runs, but is still a pretty fast shoe for kind of general speed work you'd add into your daily training, and is a more comfortable option for long and easy runs. So overall, it feels like a good shoe that's surrounded by great ones. It doesn't really compete in this category of super trainer as well as actually I think the Puma Deviate Nitro 2, but also Puma's other shoes in other categories. Like I think the Velocity Nitro 3 is a very strong option for that kind of cushion daily trainer. Really liking the new carbon shoes from Puma, but I think when it comes to super trainers and plated training shoes, Deviate Nitro 3 is just a little bit short of what we're getting from other brands this year.
So my verdict on the Puma Deviate Nitro 3 is that it has been a little bit of a miss for me. I think, it's not something I've been able to say about a lot of Puma shoes that I've tested recently. Generally, they've absolutely nailed it. And I think for me, a lot of things, have contributed to my experience not being fantastic here. The issues I've had with the fit. I think the midsole hasn't quite worked for me in terms of how I thought it would, and I feel, as I said, I think it probably tries to be a lot of things, and doesn't quite nail one thing ultimately, which is a shame because I thought I was really going to like this shoe, and I think I look at other speedy kind of focused daily trainer shoes. I feel like the New Balance Rebel V4 is a better way, a nicer shoe to run faster in, maybe not as comfortable running slower in, but I think there's a lot more qualities that I like there. I think this is closer into something like the Hoka Max 6, which I think nails that versatility a lot better, and it just works better as a package. And then obviously the Saucony Dolphin Speed, which I haven't run in the latest one, but I think, knowing the speed range, I think that's probably going to offer a little bit more on that front in terms of an all-round package as well too. I think Puma can create a better training partner for the very good Deviate Nitro Elite 3, but yeah, definitely work to be done for me based on my testing.
Okay, so my verdict on the Puma Deviate Nitro 3, I think it's a solid daily shoe, but it lacks the performance elements that I'd want from a shoe that's really designed for faster training. There are a lot of great shoes out at the moment, things like the Saucony Dolphin Speed 3, things like the Super Blast. Obviously, that's a lot more expensive, but those shoes just do running faster well. As well as doing daily sessions as well. This sort of sits in the middle for me as a daily shoe that isn't really that good at easy runs because it's not very soft. It's a bit firm for me. Doesn't feel very comfortable on those easy runs. There's lots of other shoes that I'd pick ahead of it. Things like the 1080 V13, a bit softer, but very, very nice to run in. Things like New Balance More V4, just really good easy day shoes. And then obviously faster sessions, you've got things like the Super Blast and the Saucony Dolphin Speed 4, which really just have a wider spectrum for me. You've got they cover easier runs fine, very well, and they're really, really good at running fast. This feels like it sits in the middle, but doesn't quite do either of those things very well. So it's a competent daily shoe for general runs and slightly faster efforts, but I wouldn't want to use it if I was really training hard for something and I was putting in a lot of miles and of speed work and things like that. So yeah, fine, but just doesn't excel in any area, and I think in the competition at the moment that's not a very nice position to be in.
That's our review of the Puma Deviate Nitro 3. Let us know what you think in the comments below. Please do like and subscribe, ring the little bell, and we'll see you next time.